Ever felt defensive when receiving feedback? You're not alone. What if I told you you could transform your leadership and skyrocket your personal growth? Today, we're diving deep into how leaders can not just accept, but thrive on feedback, making it your greatest asset. Stick with us. Hey everyone, John here. 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 Welcome to the Leaders Leading Leaders podcast. Welcome everybody to the Leaders Leading Leaders podcast. I am your host, John Espinosa. Today, we are going to talk about how you can leverage feedback as a powerful tool for your team, for your company, for your business. Today is all about looking differently at even the word feedback. A lot of times when we say feedback, how do you feel? You immediately are like, all right, what's coming here? You get defensive. You get into that fight or flight mode. Instead, sometimes we just need to pause and accept. And we're going to talk about some strategies today for you as a leader to look at feedback differently and coach your team to also think about the word feedback and the process of receiving and giving feedback differently. Let's get into the first topic for today. This strategy is all about how to shift your mindset on feedback. Again, we want not to look at feedback as criticism, but as vital information to help us grow, mature, and actually succeed in our jobs. So here, adopting a curiosity mindset is crucial when we talk about shifting the way that we think about feedback. I have struggled with becoming more curious. Why is that? Because I have had to reprogram 43 years of what I've been told about feedback, about how I've interacted with people, about my mindset that I'm a fixer. A lot of it comes down to questioning. When we are curious, we do more listening than we do talking. You've heard me say you're the most interested person, not the most interesting person in the conversation. That is what curiosity looks like. And it feels awkward at first. What I want you to do, and this is an exercise that I practice, is instead of immediately responding, I want you to pause. And this pause needs to last for at least 5 seconds. So I'm not going to do it on the show, but you are going to either tap your foot or you're going to count mentally to yourself for 5 seconds. Now, after you get used to this pause, you're not going to have to count for 5 seconds, but what it does is it makes you intentional about the pause. When somebody provides you a piece of feedback, what do we want to do? We immediately want to respond or come up with an excuse or make sure that they understand that we didn't mean to do that, or it was because it was a long day, or my computer wasn't working, or the customer yelled at me, whatever excuse that we want to tell ourselves, instead of actually receiving the piece of feedback. And the pause is important here. So pause first and then get curious. So ask questions. And a couple examples, I wrote down these today as I was journaling and thinking about what questions do I ask others when I want to get curious. The first one is, can you tell me more? Another way to say this is, help me understand what you just said. And it allows you, again, to pause, sit back, and receive their response. Okay? So, can you tell me more about that? Or help me understand. It allows them to clarify, you to become more curious and get a lot more information about what they're saying. Curiosity is all about receiving information, not about giving information. Being interested, not interesting. So that's the first question. Another question that I wrote down that's a go-to for me is, how do you see this impacting our goals? How do you see this impacting the organization, the team, the company? Whatever your organization looks like or your group looks like, it allows you, again, those questions that start with how and can. Don't use questions that start with why. They tend to put people like, why are you saying this? It gets people defensive. But it's a question, but I would not allow myself to ask a why question. it leaves a bad taste and it keeps people moving back when a can or a how question allows people to lean in and move forward. And when we communicate, especially when we are talking about feedback, we want to keep people moving towards us, moving forward in the conversation, again, by showing curiosity, showing interest, and asking those good questions. Again, shifting our mindset on feedback to not look at it as a criticism, but as a tool for us to grow. And when we transform feedback into a dialogue over a critique, now this is where the power of feedback really comes into play for our personal development, for our team development and team growth. And that will ultimately turn into a return on investment for you. You may not see it tomorrow. You may not see it a week from now. But the ability to build a culture of feedback where it's accepted will allow you to move through those challenges, will allow you to innovate, will allow you to rapidly grow and be able to adapt as the world changes, as the market changes, as your company changes, as you get people that come and go. It's the culture that you're going to want to build here, the culture of feedback that allows us to grow out of feedback and not get defensive. So the next topic we want to talk about today is cultivating active listening skills. And this one again goes back to that pause. It is natural for us to raise our hand. In grade school, what happened? When we had something to say, we immediately raised our hand and waited for somebody to call on us. Think about that. We were programmed that way. 12 years probably in primary education, another 4 to 6 years in collegiate education. We sat in a classroom in an auditorium and waited to answer questions by raising our hand to be called on. So we do that mentally. We mentally raise our hand as somebody is providing us feedback instead of actually listening with intent. So for here, real listening is rare. We rarely listen. It's the tin can game or the phone game that we can play where you get 4 or 5 people lined up in a row. You start with a message, you tell one person that message, and they tell the next person that message without everybody else hearing it. Then they tell the next person, and it's so on and so forth. When they get to the end, how many times is that message 100% accurate than when it started? I've done that exercise many, many times with teams, and very rarely do we get to the last person in that chain, in that phone group, and the message is the same. Why is that? Because we're not actively listening. Somewhere along that line, we may get the first time and the second time, but by the time it's heard 3 or 4 times, we begin to interpret. We begin to assume what we heard and add our own experience to that. So this piece right here, real listening, focus on cultivating active listening skills. One technique that I coach on is implementing reflect, confirm, and clarify. So reflect, confirm, and clarify. RCC. What I want you to do here, when you hear feedback, I want you to pause, that 5-second pause again. Tap your foot, move your hand, mentally count to 5, and then reflect back on what you heard. John, this is what I heard you say. From what I heard you say, this is what I understand. So that confirmation piece means to gain understanding, and then the clarify is clarify any misunderstandings. So when you repeat that back, the sender gets to hear how you heard it. They get to clarify any misunderstanding, and then they reconfirm the intent. So again, reflect, confirm, clarify. Simple but easy technique that you can use over and over again to cultivate those active listening skills. I want to take a quick break from our discussion today to mention a couple things. First of all, thank you for listening. Only 50% of our listeners are subscribed to our channel. Do me a favor, click on that subscribe button. It's going to allow our channel to continue to grow and give you updates whenever we get new episodes published. The second thing is our coaching program. People who want to work with me are looking to make a lasting change, level up, or get unstuck. I gave up on my dreams. I was a young parent, had to make a couple career changes. I went through some financial hardships. I had to learn how to flip my mindset and stay consistent. Our coaching programs are individualized one-on-one sessions where I will teach you a proven system and guarantee that you can reinvent yourself over and over again. If that sounds like something that interests you, head on over to thejohnespinosa.com and sign up to get more information. Now back to the show. 3 things that this does for us. This technique 1, it demonstrates respect. It allows the person to get their message out with not being interrupted. It allows the listener to repeat or give what they understood that message to be. And then it allows both the sender and the receiver to clarify any misunderstanding. So you walk away from that conversation with alignment. And that's one of the goals of communication, is to ensure that we're all aligned when we walk away from the table. I didn't hear it one way and somebody else didn't hear it the other way, because now we're playing that phone game and we're both walking away from that table, and we're going to go out and we're going to communicate that message on what we thought we heard instead of gaining clarity and confirmation around what was actually said. So 1, demonstrates respect. 2, it ensures alignment. And then 3, continues to build trust. And trust is at the foundation of every single team. We've been talking about that the past 2 episodes, so go back and take a listen around how you can build trust in your teams. The last practical strategy that I want to talk about today in this episode is taking action and following up. And put yourself in the place of somebody who has given feedback. You have a good conversation, so you've gone through and you've reflected, you've confirmed and you've clarified, and then you walk away from the conversation and it just falls flat. The ball is dropped. 2 days later, it's like the conversation never happened. Have you been there before? Yeah. How did that leave you feeling? Did it leave you feeling like you added value to the organization? Did it leave you feeling like next time I got something to bring to the table or a piece of feedback to share, you're going to share it? Probably not. So this last strategy of taking action and following up is probably the most important one out of shifting your mindset on feedback, looking at it as information and not just criticism, and then cultivating those listening skills. Now you got to take what you heard, take what you clarified, take what you all came away with as far as alignment, and put it into action. Figure out what day 1 looks like, and then don't miss 2 days in a row. So for me, feedback without action, that's just wasted potential. That's like giving me $1 million and then me just gambling it away. That's what feedback is. Think of it as a monetary investment into your company, into your team, into your business. Whatever that looks like, feedback is a gift. And I know that seems corny, but think of it as a monetary gift. Think of it as somebody giving you a cash prize. You think about it a little bit differently when it has a value, a dollar sign to it, right? Why is that? Because it's the way we receive feedback and the way that we've been programmed to receive feedback. It's nothing but criticism. Oh, you're just trying to tell me how to do my job. You're just trying to tell me what's wrong with me. That is not what feedback is about. So this last one, some actionable things here. After feedback, after we have gone through and done our reflect, confirm, and clarify, during that clarify, mutually design some steps to move forward. And then share those steps with the team, with the other individual that you got feedback from or shared feedback within 48 hours. Set that deadline, put it in your calendar, put it in your phone. Make sure that you're sharing those actionable steps with that individual within 48 hours. Do some more reflection on what you heard, reflect back on that alignment. You can change anything that you want, and then allows you to set some measurable, concrete actions for you to get done within 48 hours. And then share that steps. Share that strategy, share that mindset with the individual who provided the feedback to let them know, guess what? I appreciate you, I respect you, and I trust you enough to put this feedback into action. I don't know about you, but that would make me feel like I was a valued member of the team. Like I actually brought something to the table, and the leader, the boss, your manager, the business owner, the entrepreneur listened because they put it into action. They just didn't sit on it, write it down, and then disregard it. Even though it may have not been disregarded by the leader, it's still the perception, and perception is in the eye of the beholder. So if you're not going to put it in action, you also need to communicate that. Hey, this is a great idea, John. I wrote it down. I captured it. I'm going to put it up here on our idea board. Keep it in Q2 or Q3 or Q4, whatever area in our 90-day sprint sequence that we want to do. I want to get back to that. Hold me accountable if I don't, because I love the energy that you brought when you shared that piece of feedback with me. That is a different conversation that you're going to have. That is a different feeling that individual is going to walk away with to say, next time, I'm going to continue to bring that feedback and share that feedback with the leader. So again, these 3 things, make sure you shift your mindset on feedback. Quit thinking about it as criticism. Think about it as a benefit, as good information, as growth to the organization, to yourself, to the team. Number 2, cultivate active listening skills. Here's where you're going to practice that pause and you're going to reflect, confirm, and clarify. So RCC there. Then last but not least, put it into action. Figure out what those steps are, share it with the person who shared feedback with you, let them know where your strategy, where your mindset is, and move forward. I hope these steps today got you at least thinking and moving down the road on how to thrive receiving feedback. Don't just endure feedback. Let's actively pursue it and use it to grow us stronger. I believe in you. Go be great. Talk to everyone later. If you like what you're hearing, do us a favor, click on that subscribe button, give us a thumbs up, or leave a comment. That lets us know that what we are putting out benefits you. If you want additional information or resources or learn how to work with me, head on over to thejohnespinosa.com, because when we become better versions of ourselves, it helps us get others to where they're going. Go be great. Talk to everyone later.